taking out 2 targets close to each other? Is that possible?
With a shotgun, absolutely. Shotgun barrels do get very hot. Anything that you can do to keep your hands off that hot barrel, you're going to appreciate. And I think wood is great for that as long as you can keep it from breaking. It was interesting, she cocked the hammer on that Beretta in the middle of that, which she shouldn't have to do because every time the slide goes, it's going to leave it in the single action position. 2 at once. That was like a double headshot.
Yeah,
that was
like
very impressive.
Welcome back to another episode of Total Recoil, where we talk about all things video games and weaponry. I'm Israel Wright, former Green Beret, and with me again is Captain Lars Whelan.
I'm Captain Lars Whelan. I've been fortunate enough to work with Special Forces on and off for the past 20 to 30 years, protecting Marine assets around the world.
Today we're going to look at The Last of Us Part 2. Let's get into it.
Well, there we go. That's a Beretta 92F. Yep.
There you go. All right.
Taurus makes a version of that too that's almost identical, so it's almost certainly 9mm, although there are a couple of variations. You can get 40 caliber and all that, so it's nice. We got them in the Navy. It rolled over on ships from the 1911 to the 92F.
Yeah, we had a Beretta as well for our sidearm and SF.
Yeah, it's great. 15 round magazine plus one in the tube, and there's all kinds of extended magazines and stuff for those too. I was gonna say, a lot of people like the open port on the top, you know, the way the whole barrel's exposed like that, so when you rack the slide like she just did, you got a lot of access to it for cleaning and stuff.
How important is it to properly maintain your weapon?
Well, with an automatic especially, it's not going to function.
Right.
You know,
it just won't go.
That's right. It's not going to eject. If there's any buildup behind that ejector hook, it's not going to pull that round out, and then you're going to try and pick up the next round, slam it into a case that's already in the breech, and your gun's fouled. So you're going to have to stop, drop the magazine out, rack the slide, clear the chamber, and then pry out the old shell before you can get back to it.
What did we just put up on the front there, the front of the barrel?
So that's a recoil compensator of some kind?
Recoil compensator, okay.
Yeah. Although not super necessary with the 9mm, as you know, there's not a lot of kick off that 9mm.
Is that just extra weight on the front of the barrel to keep it from kicking?
No, it's going to actually vent the gas directly up. So like as the barrel tries to kick up, the gas pushes back down like a little jet thruster. But the extra weight doesn't hurt if you're trying to keep the barrel down.
Good thing for close quarters,
Absolutely.
A pistol?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just so much faster to turn it versus a long barrel.
I love how she just had to put on her backpack in that moment.
Yeah. It was interesting, she cocked the hammer on that Beretta in the middle of that, which she shouldn't have to do because every time the slide goes, it's going to leave it in the single action position.
Right. It's going to cycle another bullet already.
Right. And the hammer will be cocked already. You can drop the hammer if you want to put it in your holster, which a lot of people don't want to have it, because it increases the trigger pull. So now you're back on double action, and it's going to be like 8 pounds, much less likely to go off accidentally. But you shouldn't have to cock the hammer in the middle of a firefight. That's a little unusual.
Now, you said double action, single action. What's the difference between double action and single action?
Single action means that you have to manually cock that hammer, and then it's going to have a light trigger pull and drop down. That 92F is both double action and single action. The double action means that you can pull the trigger and it's going to pull the hammer all the way back and release it. Those are the 2 actions, cocking it and releasing it. Whereas single action, you've got to do that manually and it just releases it. Much more accurate to be in single action, and that's why automatics are almost always, the default is going to be single action, but for the first shot, you don't want to have to pull the hammer back. So the first shot's going to be double action.
Oh, okay. What are we looking at here?
All this is based off that Browning semi-automatic mechanism when you have the barrel tilt down a little bit. That's all off the original patent of Browning. Very nice, fairly indestructible.
Nice. I
have a couple Glocks. I love them. They just never foul. So these ones don't have any external safeties, which is kind of interesting. So you're never taking that off. The only real external safety is you can see there's a double trigger pull, so that you can't hook the main trigger with something. You have to actually get the mini one.
In the center of the trigger, there's an extra piece.
Right. Yeah. Which is classic of all Glocks have that, and the Caracal as well. So it is some kind of hybrid of the two. Do you like to have the finger grooves yourself?
I don't know that I know the difference, or I would feel the difference. I've only ever shot a little bit Beretta, a little bit Glock, but I've never had anything that had those.
Sure, and that looks like a wrap. So you can just put these little rubber wraps that go right over it. I kind of like them as long as it fits your hand well. I've got big hands, so if the grooves are the wrong spacing, then it's awkward on them. But with that one, it's just an add-on. It's pretty nice, actually. Can make it more comfortable. Well, this one is another...
recoil compensator?
Yeah, but it's going in all directions, so it's not going to be just keeping the thing down. I like the ones that vent down just to keep you on target. It's quite a mix there. I see the arrows. She's got a shotgun and a long gun.
She's got everything.
And a handgun. And another handgun on her hip. And they're coming with spears.
Right in the knee.
Or was that a machete? Ouch. No, he's not going anywhere. Oh, jeez.
Oh, the exit wound.
Messy.
I feel like they probably did their research on the exit wound.
I wouldn't want to be cleaning up after this crew.
Yeah.
Look at that crossbow, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty compact. I wonder if she has to like fold out the arms on that to use it. Ooh.
Farmville, Stardew Valley.
Oh, she's got the suppressor on now.
Now it looks like she's got a makeshift suppressor or silencer on the end, made out of like a bottle or a can or something like. Is that something that one can do?
Absolutely, they're super effective. I mean, just putting the pillow over the front of a gun is super effective as far as the sound.
Right.
This is an automatic, and what that means is the bullet itself is powering the mechanism. So as soon as the slide comes back and ejects, that round is still going off, so it's still going to be kind of noisy because you have the explosion coming out. Like it's not all being focused through the suppressor. If you have a revolver though, like until you spin it, it is all going through the suppressor. So it's much more effective to either have a single shot or a revolver with the suppressor. And there's a company out that's making an adapter plate for oil filters, which actually make fantastic suppressors.
You can actually just screw on an oil filter to your...
That's right. You have to screw this little plate on the end of your weapon as long as it's threaded. The barrel's threaded, which most are now. And then screw on an oil filter. The first shot that you fire is going to go through the bottom of that oil filter, so that one's not going to be particularly accurate. But once you've got that hole, you've got a very nice sound suppression. And once it gets dirty, you don't have to try and clean them like we've had to do. Just throw it away, get another $10 one and throw it on.
Oh my
It's
God.
crazy. I like revolvers a lot because they don't jam.
Right.
I mean, you can have a misfire, but you just pull the trigger again, you're on to the next cylinder. It doesn't matter. You don't have to clear the old misfire. Also, as we were talking about suppressors, because you're not using the recoil of the shell, it's not opening the breech, so it's much more effective of trying to keep the sound down when you're using a suppressor to use a revolver versus an automatic.
Oh, interesting. I haven't shot too many revolvers in my time.
Oh, they're great. So this is a double action as well, but it's also double single. So like you can pull the hammer back and then it's got a very light trigger pull. Trigger pull is the thing that's gonna mess up your shot the most. A heavy trigger pull where you have to pull 8, 10, 12 pounds, it's gonna pull you off to one side. But when you cock the hammer back, you reduce that trigger pull down to maybe 4 pounds, or like crazy light it'd be 2 pounds. And then you're not having so much effect on the direction of the barrel when you pull it. So you get a much more accurate shot.
Nice. Like a rubber grip?
Yep. Kind of like Hogue is the big manufacturer of those, but they're nice. They take some of the bite out of the, especially if you're shooting a 44 Magnum or something. I really want to see her shoot these arrows. They've got like proper feather fletching on the back there. So
I don't know we're gonna get any bow and arrow stuff.
I know, and she's got a crowbar on there. Oh my God, the weight of that pack must be immense.
What about the distances that she's shooting at? Like this looks like that's like 20 feet, 30 feet. You know?
Yeah, that's
a pistol.
No problem with
Really?
that. Oh yeah, revolvers are a little more accurate in general than semi-automatics. I've got like a little 357, and really it's pretty effective at 50 yards. It's no problem.
You always want to go for the headshot?
No, not me. Like, it's good if you're finishing them off, but I want to shoot them center mass because I'm much more likely to hit them.
Right, me
Like,
too. We're only getting headshots in this game.
That's right. Well, they're
good for them. Hey,
more skilled than us.
Yeah.
Ooh, hunting pistol. Oh, so that's a Thompson Arms, you know. It's just got the one barrel, there's no feed mechanism.
That's breech loading?
That's breech loading, that's right. That just means like you're opening the back of the barrel and putting it directly into the barrel. Because it's only the barrel that's going on, it's actually quite easy to change the caliber. So you just pop in a new barrel and you have a new caliber.
And you can have the same lower?
Exactly,
bar?
yeah. They made that all the way up to a 45-70, which was an enormous round that they used to hunt buffalo with. And trying to hold on to that in a pistol as it went off would be spectacular. You can put a 410 shotgun shell in there too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is the part of the game where you modify and you upgrade the weapon in kind of an austere conditions. What are kind of some of the basic minimum tools that you might need to tool an actual?
Really, I mean, all you're gonna need is a flathead screwdriver to work on this thing. I don't know what she's doing with that adjustable spanner, but something, you know. That's good, she's cleaning it. You shouldn't need that because it's just the flathead screws to take everything apart, really.
Maybe a scope, maybe?
Yeah, so the scope is great, but again, it's just flathead screws that go onto the mount, you know, unless you're actually machining the barrel to take the scope mount. The rest of it is fairly simple assembly. But she did put on a recoil compensator, which is great for something like this. She's probably got a big caliber. Like this, you can effectively use like a rifle, which is what they used it for. They're super accurate and powerful, but single shot, so it's gonna be slow. And you wanna have a beefy wrist to be shooting a high caliber.
Look at her. She
pistol.
obviously can handle this thing.
I guess so.
Look at
Yeah.
those arms.
I mean, this is close quarters combat. This is not the right weapon for that. You want some more ammunition.
Yeah, right. You want to be able to squeeze off a few rounds.
That's right. Ooh, I like how she broke the glass without using the gun. I mean, at that range, it might not matter, but once that bullet goes through glass, it's going to start tumbling, you know? So the target better be close on the other side of the glass. You don't want to go through glass and try and shoot at something 50 yards away. Forget it.
And it's just headshots all day long. Just will not settle for anything less. Oh, Lord.
That's like Andre the Giant.
Big girl. Whoa.
Double-barreled shotgun. So this is probably a 12 gauge, and the gauge system is really interesting. This has been around forever. I think it came from England, but the way the gauges work with shotgun is really we only have 20 gauge, 12 gauge, and 10 gauge is the only ones that you can typically get in the American market. And what that gauge means is the size ball, the lead diameter ball that will fit in the barrel, how many of those make up 1 pound? So a 20 gauge, whatever the biggest lead ball you can fit in, it takes 20 of those to make a pound. That's why as the number goes down, the bullets actually get bigger because there's fewer of them in a pound. We also have 410, but that's actually not a gauge. It's a 410 shotgun is a caliber, so that's 0.41 inches across the diameter of the thing, which is pretty small for a shotgun actually. They used to have some enormous ones. They had these things called punt guns. They just called them A gauge because it was over an inch. 1 round would be more than 3 pounds of pellet.
Just putting a compensator on there, maybe?
She is. It could be a choke. So a choke will reduce the pattern, but that looks like a recoil compensation, yeah, which is great with the shotgun because there's a lot of kick, especially with the double barrel, and if you hit both barrels at the same time, that's a lot of recoil. There's a legal requirement for 18 inches, I think, shortest length that you can have on a barrel without it being a pistol, because you can have pistols that fire shotgun shells. Taurus makes a nice 45 that will take that 410 shotgun shell, which sounds ridiculous, but it's actually the perfect gun if you have a problem with snakes, because the snake is going to be close and you really just want to spray pellets at it, you know. You can't cut the length of a rifle shotgun down beyond that 18 inches. Okay, so this is a standard over-under breech loading 12 gauge.
Any tactical, practical difference between an over-under and it's just a side-by-side, the standard double bow that you usually see?
Yeah, I would say that there really is not a significant difference. I prefer the side-by-side myself, but really what these over-unders are used for a lot is for skeet shooting, because it's a kind of easier to aim maybe than the side-by-side.
Gotcha. Oh!
What was that?
Incendiary rounds? Do they have incendiary rounds for shotguns?
They do, but they have all kinds of amazing rounds for shotguns. You put some phosphorus rounds in there or something. This is highly effective.
It almost reminds me of like roasting marshmallows.
I know she's expanding as she burns. Whoa! If you had to choose why you would pick a breech loading double barrel versus slide action shotgun, because this is heavier, right? And you have to reload it way more often, because you can get, somewhere in between 3 and 9 rounds in that magazine tube under a standard pump shotgun.
The apocalypse, you take what you can get.
That's right, and it seems very effective. There's 4 zombies on fire right there. That's great.
Oh, yes, on the moving target.
As
I love
falls. Rough.
Oh, man. Smashing heads.
Yeah, boot's just as effective as the shotgun, I guess. Whoa, his leg just disappeared. What is she? Oh, she's hand-to-hand with the zombies.
Oh, wow. Good for her.
Okay.
She can handle them.
I guess so. I think I would want as much distance as I can get. These guys look fairly rotten already. They're not the freshest zombies.
Can you, what's
falling apart?
Distance, close distance, medium distance, maybe not long distance? I'm thinking you couldn't go long
shotgun,
distance.
Yeah, so this is the thing with the choke I was telling you about, which is really used a lot when you're using like hunting, because you can figure like, okay, this is how far out I'm going to be, and that choke lets you determine like where those group of pellets spreads out. So it'll stay together for longer or shorter depending on the type of choke you're using, which is just a little kind of funnel that you screw into the end of the barrel. You can go pretty far with a shotgun, especially if it's a slug, because then it's a single thing, but accuracy, I would like to stay within 30 feet with a shotgun, I'd say. Oh, very nice. Very nice. So that's probably 5 rounds, 12 gauge that you can put in there, which is great. I like to see the magazine tube go all the way out to the end of the barrel because
More rounds?
yeah, more rounds. You get an extra 3 rounds out of there, and it doesn't cost you anything, as far as weight or size or anything. I would want the maximum number of rounds I could have, or cut the barrel down to the length of the tube.
Now, you say cut the barrel. Is that you just get a hacksaw, you clamp it down, or is there any kind of precision involved in that?
You could give it to a gunsmith to do it properly, but if you're talking about close combat, it doesn't really matter. The short barrel, all that lets you do is, transverse a corner easier and tote it around easier. The longer the barrel, the more accurate at range it's going to be, generally speaking, with the shotgun. But if you're doing close combat stuff, really, it doesn't matter that much. Look, she just put a magazine extender on there, which does the same thing. Okay, very good.
Difference between wooden parts to shotgun, this looks like polymer, like rubber or plastic.
It's hard to say, but I think those were wood. I like wood, but the problem with wood is that it can split, and then you've got splinters, and it falls off.
Sure, right.
Shotgun barrels do get very hot. Anything that you can do to keep your hands off that hot barrel, you're going to appreciate. And I think wood is great for that as long as you can keep it from breaking.
Right.
A rough job for a shotgun, so the whole, rubber grips might be a good thing for this. 5 feet away.
Taking out 2 targets close to each other, is that
Sure.
possible?
Yeah, with a shotgun, absolutely. Whoa.
Oh, man.
Very effective.
Right on it.
Wait, so do the zombies have bows?
Now, these are other factions. These are like cults or militias that have formed in the post-apocalyptic wasteland.
I got you. You'd think you'd want to keep all the humans together, like working,
Last of Us is a series that showcases the worst of humanity.
I got you. Okay.
Sometimes the zombies aren't the worst thing out there in this game.
Maybe a 74?
That safety bar is a dead giveaway.
It's huge,
5-round magazine? 10-round magazine?
It's got to be a 10. Like, why would you have a 5-round magazine for an AK? It doesn't make any sense.
California.
Oh, yeah, all right. Maybe it's the California version. That does
California
make sense.
compliant.
Right? You can always tell because of the stamped look, too. It's just it's stamped out of one giant sheet of metal.
Right, yep.
Polymer on the back and wood in the front.
Right.
It looks like she's trying to save weight. It's nice. I like the reach through grips, so your thumb comes right through.
Yeah.
But she's saving weight, which is amusing while she's carrying around a 4-foot crowbar on her backpack. Yeah. A little bit ironic there.
Concerning.
Yep.
Scope
Interesting.
on there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a big round. It goes a long way. Why not? Now she's up. That's got to be a 20-round mag.
Yeah.
Going through burst fire. Yeah.
What's the difference between semi-automatic and fully automatic?
So semi-automatic means that for each pull of the trigger, you will get 1 round to go. So fully automatic means you pull the trigger and it's going to keep firing until you run out of ammunition or let go of the trigger. I don't really like full auto. It doesn't make any sense unless you're on,
Yeah, practically I've never been taught to go full auto in any situation.
It's a great way to throw away all your ammunition, really. 3-round bursts is about the max you could really control. Unless you're like squad mounted.
Yeah,
160 or something.
Yeah.
Then you got all the ammo in the world.
I'm left-handed, so the safety was on the right. Usually it's pretty easy, but I had to click over and then go back over and re-grip, every time. I got pretty good at it. I would safety off with my thumb, and then when I would go on, I would actually pull it with the side with my index finger and then push it back. Yeah. The brick, the classic brick. So wild. I love the post-apocalyptic games. They just the scenery that they can create of what the world might look like.
Yeah. I love seeing nature come back and take over areas this. This is cool. It's got a very Postman feel to it, that Kevin Costner movie. So bolt action means it has a bolt that you're going to have to manipulate each time. So you're going to have to lift up, pull back, and that's going to eject the round. It looks like he has a little box mag underneath there. You can see the lip of it sticking out just below the thing.
Yep.
So he's probably got 3, 4, 5 rounds like that double stack. They're great for accuracy because first you're going to get all the power because the bolt stays closed until you open it, right? Mm-hmm. Also, it's not moving as much. And there's a thing called a free-floating barrel, which that looks like, which means that the barrel is only touching the stock at the breech, not in the foregrip, which means that it's hard to deflect it with the debris or whatever. The nice thing about these bolt actions is that they're pretty simple, so it's really unlikely that something's going to go wrong. Worst case is the ejector's not going to pull that out, but you just pry it out. It's not going to be she found a
10 rounds.
Yeah, that's probably 10.
How big can you go? 30-round magazine, bolt action.
It seems a little crazy to do it, but I suppose you probably can. I mean, the accessories people are making now is unbelievable. It's
Right.
like infinite combinations.
I want to see a drum. I want to see a
bolt action on
bolt
a
action.
drum. Yeah. Somebody probably makes one.
Right. Scope on there. These seem like it'd be good for sniper.
Absolutely. It's designed as a hunting rifle, which is it's perfect at, but same thing. Oh, look, she's...
Pretty easy to do. Break it down like that.
Typically not. It's not that easy to pull the barrel off of a bolt-action rifle, depending on the rifle. And then you have to re-zero the scope when you do that. So that's kind of problematic. You definitely want to check the scope once you've changed the barrel out.
Yeah.
Because now you changed all that geometry as they touch, even though it's just minor.
You're talking about re-zero. What does zeroing mean?
Oh, zeroing the scope means like when you put the scope on, where the cross is, that's not where the bullet's going to go. You have to sit there and dial it in. So you look through the scope, you fire a single round, and then you bring the reticle over, which is clicks on the side, and then you try and match the scope to where your hole is. And then when you look through the scope, whatever the cross is on, that's when you're going to hit what it is.
And that's not just scope, but that's the position of your body. You want to make sure all the variables are the same every time you shoot.
Right. Exactly right. If you're good and it doesn't change a lot, you can probably do it in 5 rounds, but you're going to have to sit there and like watch, and you're going to have to see where did that bullet go. A lot of times if you put it on the first bullet, you have no idea where it went. It didn't hit the paper, it went somewhere, and then you have to have somebody watch and like, oh, you were low and left or whatever. Get it onto the paper, and then you can start dialing it in. So somewhere in between 5 and 10 rounds, you should be able to zero it out properly. There are quick change mechanisms that are designed to minimize the amount of zeroing you have to do so that it should stay fairly locked in. But really, anytime you take a scope off a gun, you want to check it when you put it back on before you bring it out into a combat situation. Ooh, 2 at once. That was like a double headshot.
Yeah,
that
was like a
very
twofer.
impressive.
Now, not to take anything away from Ellie, but recoil or control on the fly like this, pretty easy, or harder than like a bolt action shotgun or something?
Because you have to rack the bolt every time, the recoil is not going to affect one shot to the next. The effect is it's going to, bruise her shoulder, and it's going to make for a long day. They go through a lot of rounds, and she did put I think this one's got a recoil compensator on it, which is good. Depends a lot on, too, the size of the shell, because the rifle itself can look pretty similar all the way from a 22 to a 30-06 or something, and the 30-06 has got a hell of a kick, and the 22 you don't even need, yeah.
Take that bottle. Oh,
What was that zombie doing?
Point blank.
The zombie, did he have an automatic gun that he just
Oh,
dropped?
that was another militia
Right,
member.
sorry.
Yeah.
He's just raggedy looking.
Yeah, get it right, Lars. Pay attention.
Oh!
Man, 2 twofers.
She's got a whole system set up for getting 2 at once with this rifle. Very effective.
In terms of, post-apocalyptic wasteland, what weapon would you say would serve you best?
I think I'd want a crossbow. Quiet, and if you have to, you can make your own bolts.
All right, I'm gonna hang out with Lars after the zombies come and take over.
Fully suppressed 22, that'd be nice too. Light, you can carry a lot of rounds. You can use it to hunt without bringing a lot of attention, Be good.
You thought about this.
Yeah, that's right. I got my rig ready to go, no problem.
The Last of Us 2. Lars, what did you think about the weaponry, accuracy, lasting impressions?
I thought it was great. I thought they had a really interesting selection of weapons. They did a really good job of researching what they were looking at and putting together a realistic package. The only thing was maybe the weight, carrying all that around. I wouldn't want to be carrying that much, but
Right. I think Abby could probably carry it maybe longer than Ellie.
She's tougher than me. That's all I can say. It was a beautiful game. Hopefully, a post-apocalyptic world would be a little friendlier, but if that's what we're dealing with, that's what we got.
Hope and dream.
That's right.
Let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes of Total Recoil down in the comments section. If you want to see more great content from Gameology, go to their Facebook or YouTube page. And if you want to hang out with me a little bit more, go to twitch.tv/myhappyself. We'll see you on the next one, folks. Oh, today we're going to look at now, I'm Israel Wright, Whelan, like Whelan Yutani, like from Alien.
Okay.
That's how I'm going to remember.